Hello, everyone. I am here today with Greg Rollet. Greg is a best-selling author and marketing expert who works with authors, experts, and entrepreneurs all over the world. He helps others in the production and marketing of their own products and services through the Celebrity Expert Marketing System and through the Product Pros. Greg, thanks for being here, man.
Anytime, Carlos. Real happy to be here, man.
Yeah, it's you and I known each other for many years online, and it's interesting
Yeah.
to see the how as the years go by, things are changing, and it's great to be able to talk with you again. As I was trying to get updated on all the things that you've been up to, I stumbled with this paragraph that someone wrote about you, and I wanted to
Uh-oh.
read it because I thought it was a great starting point. I read, Greg loves the challenge, the current business environment that constrains people to working 12-hour days during the best portions of their lives. By teaching them to leverage marketing and the power of information, Greg loves to help others create freedom in their businesses that allow them to generate income, make the world a better place, and live a radically ambitious lifestyle in the process. I thought that was really inspiring, but more important to me, the really interesting part was you say by teaching them to leverage marketing and the power of information. So I thought a good way to start, knowing what what your career's been it's been about so far. What is your relationship with marketing? What is marketing for you, Greg?
For me, really, marketing is everything, right? And one of the big lessons that everyone can take away from this is that in everything that we do in life, we're either marketing ourselves or we're selling ourselves, right? So think about when you're trying to get a job, you're marketing and promoting yourselves. Your resume is like a sales letter. Your resume is like a blog post that you're trying to get an opt-in for, right? You're trying to get someone to call you back. When you're trying to sell someone your services. Heck, if you're trying to convince a babysitter to come over and babysit your kids, you're selling them on something, right? You're like, well, I'll pay you money if you come over and babysit my kids so we can go do something better, right? So everything comes down to sales and marketing, and it really doesn't matter what you're doing in your life. You're trying to ask your boss for a promotion, if you're trying to sell a product or service, if you are, trying to convince your kids to do something, it is all driven by sales and marketing, everything around us. So human psychology, persuasion, the way you use words and the words you choose to use are really powerful because they can change the way people perceive you. They can change the way that people interact with you. And also they can change the outcome of the conversation, what you're trying to have. So to me, marketing is everything. And I'm immersed in it. I mean, I think you can kind of see some of the bookshelves. I mean, that's just binders upon binders of stuff that we study because
Right.
you can really learn a lot from the past because human psychology hasn't changed, right? The
Right.
technology changes. The fact that you're right now, I think you said you're in Chile right now.
Yep. Yep.
Yep. So you're in Chile right now. I'm in Florida right now, and we can do this conversation over Skype. But the fact of the matter is, the human psychology, the questions you're going to ask, the answers that I'm going to say, my mannerisms, that wouldn't change if we were face to face or whatever else.
Right.
So regardless of technology, you can learn a lot about human psychology, about marketing, about the way people make decisions by studying the past. And that's where I spend a lot of my time.
Well, as I don't, I would say that a lot of what I do, a lot of what I do is sales and marketing. But in my website, I say I'm a communicator because it really is about the way you communicate something. There's this idea that the salesperson is the one that is like the guys from the movies, right? The guy that
Yeah,
tricks you
yeah.
into buying something, and it's really not. It's about understanding whether the person comes from what you're providing, how both people can get better, and understanding how people think and how people work. And it is one of those things that marketing, the way you put it. And it's one of the things that I think education doesn't really prepare us for. Either,
Yeah.
yeah, the people are they have that innate talent where they're good communicators or good at understand understand how people think and reading people's behaviors. Or there's people that are really bad at it, and there's no push to get better. Society doesn't really.
Right.
There's not enough systems and platforms and support for people to get better at this. And like you said, everything is marketing. I agree because if you think about whether you want to not only in business, if you want a job, if you want information, if you want a business partner, if you want a date, it's all behind a person, right? Everything
It
is
is.
another person, and if you don't know how
Yeah.
to interact with people, you're really left behind. When did you kind of realize this? When was this sort of epiphany that what marketing meant for you and how you got into it?
Yeah, so I mean, it really goes back to I don't know how much you remember of my early story, but I was a rapper in a rock band.
I do remember, yeah.
Yeah, I know you remember. But yeah, so I was a rapper in a rock band, and we were trying to book gigs, we were trying to tour the country, and we were trying to do all these different things. And what it boiled down to was our relationship that we had with the music venues, the relationship that we had with the fans there. How many fans could we put on a mailing list? How many emails could we send out versus how many RSVPs we could get versus how many people would actually show up for the shows? Bands don't think like that, right? So I'm
Right.
using like this whole different strategy, this whole marketing play to book shows. And then I learned really the power of what we call now like celebrity association. So now, during in my bio, you were reading off some things. I mean, I've been privileged enough. I've written books with Jack Canfield, the co-author of Chicken Soup for the Soul. I work with
Yeah.
Dan Kennedy. We're actually in the middle of a product launch with Dan Kennedy right now. For those in the marketing world, I've just co-authored a book with Steve Forbes. I spoke on stage with Steve Forbes. So I name drop because that's like now you're associating me with those guys. Well, in the music world, I had the privilege of opening up for really cool bands like Papa Roach, like Seven Dust, like Buck Cherry, like Bone Thugs and Harmony. And so when I would go to music venues, I'd be like, you know what, Papa Roach just played here 2 months ago. We're just like them. We open for them. We have a very similar audience. Would you give us a shot? And so that association, just by us being even considered in the same playing field, was huge for us. And again, it was a way to open the door. It was a way for us to say, hey, Carlos, you run a music venue. You guys just had Papa Roach in there. We'd love to come in and open for somebody like that. If you have anybody else like that on the roster, and they'd be like, "Whoa, you open for Papa Roach?" It would just change the conversation from, "Hey, can we please play at your venue? We're starving artists. We have no fans. We have no leverage."
Right.
To now we have leverage, and now it's the same thing I do now. Now I can not to toot my own horn, but I can call almost anybody I want to, and they'll pick up the phone because they see best-selling author, Emmy-nominated producer. He's worked with Steve Forbes and Jack Canfield
Right.
and Brian Tracy's and
Right.
yada yada, and they're like, "Wow, this guy's done a whole lot of stuff. He must be on that playing field," even though I'm not. Right? I'm
Right,
just
right,
a little
right.
dude running a marketing company. No,
Right.
but you know what I'm saying. So it is the celebrity tie and celebrity association, getting yourself on the playing field of bigger people, of giants,
Yeah.
has really been big for me, and it's what we kind of teach our clients here to do as well.
It's interesting how you talk about the way we think of value, right? I think
Right.
there's a this sort of, especially in the art world, you talk about music, but I think it can be applied to almost every art form right nowadays. Maybe
Oh yeah.
I would actually maybe video games and movies are the ones that are kind of understanding the marketing power sooner. But I see a lot of painters and sculpture and actors and whatever that don't get the power of marketing. And I think there's this sort of outdated belief. I'm this is a sort of a theory I've been tinkering with lately, which is this outdated belief that if a product is great, if what I'm doing is great, then it's going to be enough. And I think that is it's very out of touch with reality in a world where resources and monies are still limited. I mean, even the
Yeah.
richest man in the planet still has a limit of how much he can spend. So he has to make choices of what he does with his money. But now, because we're in a super interconnected world, the choices are so many that it's really not about what is the best, but it's also what is the best that I don't have to go crazy to find it. What is the best that I don't have to, do I know if it's the best before I try?
Right.
Like, there's a lot of this new decisions we have to make, this sort of new user debt we are incurring as consumers, and a lot of people that I think are in this sort of ancient value creation forms like a lot of art are kind of missing that new trend. How do what do you see? Because I'm fascinated by art. My mom is an artist, and
Well, let's.
I'm curious about what you see of like how can we help the artist? I mean, what
Yeah,
is
well,
it?
let's. All right, so I'll go back to a musician, and then I'll apply it to business owners
Yeah.
because to kind of bring the paradigm. So a musician. So everything that I'm about to say is you have to be good at what you do, right? So you can't paint, you can't just slap crap on the wall and call it art and then try and sell it, right? So you got to be good at what you do. So let's say you're a musician, you're a singer songwriter, and you write 5 incredible songs, and you record them, and you get them on CD. Well, what does that band or that artist do? Well, instead of marketing those 5 songs that are great that no one in the world has heard, they go and they make 5 more songs. And then they go and make 5 more songs. And then they go and make 5 more songs. And then they go and make 5 more songs. And then they go and no one's ever heard the original 5 that were great. Right. And so we kind of get stuck in this mindset of, all right, well, I played 3 or 4 shows. I have my old school MySpace, but now maybe my Facebook page or whatever. and I got 1,000 friends and they've all heard the songs. Well, I need to go make more. And I'm like, yeah, you have 1,000 friends. There's what, billions of people on the world, on the planet.
Right.
It's like the bands. Well, we're not going to play that song anymore, because everyone's heard it. Well,
Right.
made something great, it is really your responsibility to market that product until it really has hit saturation, until you are the Black Eyed Peas and you're on every 30 seconds on every pop radio station.
Right.
Then go back and make more songs. Well, entrepreneurs are the same way. Let's talk about, like online entrepreneurs. What do? We write a blog post every single day, and again, there's nothing wrong creating content. I get it for the whole Google thing and the, building trust and authority, but we write a blog post today and we didn't tell anyone about it. We didn't market it. We didn't get comments on it. We didn't do it. And then we write another one and we don't get any comments and things. And then we write another one and we don't market it or promote it. And none of it's driving business. Well, why you want to go write another 40 blog posts? You got 7 that are really good. Again, it's assuming that those posts are actually good, right? Now I know when both of us started, if you read my stuff from like 8 years ago, it's garbage. Right?
I deleted it. I couldn't read it. I deleted it. It's like
it's awful.
Made me vomit.
But so assuming that you're actually creating good content, it is your duty and responsibility to get people to that content, right? So it's why something like Tim Ferriss, 4 Hour Work Week, he can have that book on the bestseller list for years because he's still promoting that book, right? Because people are still talking about that book. I'm going through a program right now that we're launching with Dan Kennedy called the Living Legend Formula, and one of the definitions of a legend is they have to be remarkable. And in order to be remarkable, you have to create something worth being remarked upon. Right? So if your work, if your art, if your product, your service isn't remarkable, isn't worthy of being remarked upon by others, well, then you got to come with a better product or service, because that's where marketing comes into play. Is we're telling stories about. So we're talking about Tim Ferriss now. The reason why I brought him up is because he's on my bookshelf behind me. I'm still reading his blog, and his principles are still sticking with me. I know his story. It's legendary. But that is marketing. He's done a job of engineering himself into my brain. So every time I think about that stuff, his name comes up. He's worthy of being remarked upon. Is your work worthy of being remarked upon? And that's what creates experts and legends, and it propels and perpetuates your marketing. So long-winded answer to where we were going,
Sorry, go ahead.
No, but it's just, if you've created something good, it is your responsibility to market it, right? So the starving artist says, if my music's good enough, people will find it. Well, we won't. We're busy, right? So I got I got my little smartphone here. I have Pandora, I have Spotify, I have Google Music, I have iTunes, and I just all I do is hit Jay-Z, and then it starts playing all songs like Jay-Z. If your music doesn't pop up, if you're not marketing, if you're not paying for plays, if you're not being put in those same places, if the other thing that artists do and musicians do is, and we did this as musicians, so something that we did that was wrong is, so who do you sound like? Nobody you've ever heard before. Well, then I have no frame of reference to put you. So we want, as consumers, we want to compartmentalize you, right? So when I talk about my band now, I was like, oh yeah, we sounded like Linkin Park or 311 or Gym Class Heroes or The Roots. We were a hip hop rock band. So now people go, oh, I like Linkin Park. Maybe I'll like their music. Right? Doesn't mean we sound exactly like, we have to have that frame of reference. So artists are, well, you've never seen anything like me. But if you say, yeah, I'm a spray painter, I'm kind of like Bansky, people are like, oh, I like Bansky. That guy's awesome. He's a great artist. Right. Maybe I'll like your stuff too. You got to have.
It's this concept of an anchor, right? We need a mental anchor.
Yeah.
Exactly. There's this book by Steven Johnson called "Where Good Ideas Come From," and he basically identifies patterns of innovation. And he says that one of the important ones is the adjacent room. The idea that if you're in a room that is way disconnected from any of the rooms we are in, basically, if you're ahead of your time, then no one's going to understand you, and you're not going to be appreciated. We go step by step. When you say, well, this is like Facebook, but this, then you're basically making it easier for me to understand what you're selling. And the thing that I think it's really interesting, because to me, what's happening now is that, technology has changed the world, right? So when new technology arrives, it changes everything, and we not always we see how we change it. And internet, we're still, I think, seeing just the tip of the iceberg of all the things that we're going to have to change about how we do things. One of them is this thing that we seem to be needing to reinvent ourselves and get up to trends and stay updated on everything that's happening and how things are being done effectively many more times in our lifetime like that than we used to have to do that. So, you used to go to college and you kind of, you go through a big intense process of updating yourself, learning something. and then you use that for the rest of your life. And now that doesn't seem to be enough. It seems like every few years or so we have to go, okay, what is happening now? Because I can't rely on what I was doing 7 years ago. I have to, get back to speed. This is why I was having a conversation with a mutual friend that we have, Andy Drish.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
A few, he was in Chile a few months ago, for Exosphere, and we were talking about how, you and Andy and me and a couple of others June Lice, another guy, we were all part of that little blogging family, online social media, some years ago. I think we were like on the right wave. I think we were not too early, not too late. I think we were in the right spot. And there's some people that I see that are kind of still doing what they were doing then, and they, even though they're doing okay, they're growing more slowly at a slower pace, steadily. But then I've seen cases like Andy, like you, like Colin Wright, like June, that you made leaps and you reinvented yourself. And this is something I respect a lot. You're not doing what you were doing 5 or 6 years ago. You changed a lot. I assume your philosophy and your values are very similar. But how that transformed, how that becomes something tangible has changed, because you realize, okay, well, I can't do this again. And I think artists are having to deal with that. And at the same time, any professional people now have to deal with that. This idea that, well, I am, now I need to market myself. What do you mean by that? I thought a resume was enough. And there's a video that I saw of you where you talk about your 5 rules of expert marketing. To me, what was fascinating is that they can be applied to almost any professional nowadays. Like almost all of us as people, as either as an entrepreneur or trying to find a job, I have to do those rules, right? So maybe you can. You're going to do a lot better job than I will, but explain those rules, and I think it's interesting to see the parallels.
Yeah, well, I'll touch on 2, maybe 3 of them, just to keep things short and keep it flowing. But the one that I want to touch on is the power of one, right? So I'll relate it back to musicians, then I'll relate it to entrepreneurs. Is in the music world, again, we create this song and we go out and play, and we'd assume that there is one person who is going to sit in the crowd, and that one person was going to get us a record deal, put us on MTV, get us to the Grammys. That there's one person out there. Right? That it's not about creating a legion of fans, of a network, of building relationships with countless people, but that there's one person. You're gonna pack your bags, you're gonna go to LA or Nashville or New York City or wherever it is, and this one person is gonna discover you. That's not the case at all, right? I mean, you look at like a Lady Gaga or something. I mean, she's got her tour manager, she's got her booking agent, she's got her regular manager, she's got her accountant, she's got her attorney, she's got her producer, she's got her songwriters, she's got her dance coordinator, there so many people that make her, the business of Lady Gaga, work, right?
Right.
There isn't one person that discovered her. It was a lot of hard work. It was a lot of fans. It was all her monsters, coming up, right? So as business owners now, we tend to do the same thing. We rely on one product or one service. Well, if someone else makes it better, faster, cheaper, you're out of business, right? So you got to have multiple products or services. You rely on one stream of advertising. Like, I'm only going to blog to find customers. Well, we all saw, MySpace disappeared, faxing disappeared, cold calling disappeared. Blogging one day will not be a great form of traffic if that's your only source of traffic. Now, when we were blogging, there was still a lot of bloggers, but there was maybe a core group of 50, 100, Now there's tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands. Podcasting is going through that now. Podcasting 2 years ago, you would control iTunes. Now there's hundreds of podcasts launching every single day, right? So if you're only relying on blogs, well, why not podcasts, and why not videos, and why not email marketing, and why not actually try and go buy some traffic? That's a revolutionary idea. Spend $1 and get $1 back. Whoever thought that would happen? But if you're only relying on one source of traffic, right? So I talk to my clients all the time. I'm like, you've been using the Yellow Pages for 20 years. Yellow Pages what if the Yellow Pages stop doing what they're doing? If you're doing direct mail, and I'm a huge direct mail fan. So I'm a young kid who does direct mail. I actually send more direct mail than I do email, which is crazy. Another subject for another day. But stamps just went up again, right? So I see that as an opportunity because all my competitors are going to say, stamps went up. It's too expensive to send the postcards or the letters or whatever. I say, great, there's less crap in the mailbox. My stuff's going to, my stuff's going to be there. But if you're only using direct mail and it becomes too expensive for you, well, how else are you going to bring customers in? Google comes in and slaps you, with your AdWords account, and AdWords was your only source of business. So you can't just have one product, one service, one way of getting customers. You got to have multiple front doors, multiple offers, multiple ways of getting traffic. If you don't, you're really putting yourself out there for failure, right? Job seeker, right? If you're only looking on Career Builder, well, you're missing all the opportunities on LinkedIn, on Monster, on whatever. I don't even know the job sites these days. But if you're only looking in one place, you're missing all the other opportunities.
Yep.
So the second principle with that is that you got to show up like nobody else, right? I don't remember if I called it like the shock and awe or the surprise and delight or out hustle, all kind of the same thing, but like. So job seeker, right? So we're hiring, right? So I put up a job post and I get resumes. Every single resume looks the same.
Yeah.
I don't know the difference between your resume and this resume. Yeah, you both went to the University of Central Florida. You both had 4.0s. You both had 18 awesome internships. You both you're carbon copies of each other because that's the way you were trained. I'm looking for creatives and marketing people, right? So why would I bring on someone who looks exactly the same as someone else? Why wouldn't I have the guy who sends me a resume asks me some questions? I send him back some info, and then he shows up with a package on my doorstep the next day.
Right.
Isn't that what I want for my clients, right? So, that guy stands apart. If you call an attorney, right, you have a problem and you need a lawyer, and you call 4 or 5 attorneys to get different opinions, and 3 of the 4 say, Carlos, why don't you just go to my website and you can fill out the form there, and someone on my team will get back to you within 24 hours, right? You're like, to me, this is like the most pressing matter in the world. To you, you're like, just go fill out a form. Right. The 4th attorney, though, gets your information, says, we're going to send out a care package. We'll get you all the information you need. It's going to have my free report on the 6 things you need to know about your slip and fall case and this and that. And then a FedEx box shows up the next day at your doorstep with all this crap in it, with a DVD, with a copy of his book, with that special report, with 20 pages of testimonials. Are you going to go fill out a form online, or are you going to now you have a story worth telling? Hey, my attorney sent me this big box of stuff. I don't even know, but we're using him. He's going to save my life and save my case. So show up like nobody else in your marketplace because no one else is doing it. Right? That's the big thing. Crazy thing. Like thank you cards. Like, do you send thank you? Like right next to my desk, I'll grab them. I have a stack full of like cards, so I can, every time I talk to somebody worth sending something to, I say, hey Carlos, thanks for the interview. It was awesome, Greg. And I just shoot it out. Now you get that in the mail. Right. When's the last time you got a it's something so stupid. It cost me 50 cents. But what are you doing to not look like everybody else in your marketplace? There's so many copycats. If you look like everyone else, you're perceived as everyone else. Right. So so I just moved, and I'm getting all kinds of thanks for moving into the neighborhood. We're your pest control group, or we're your pool company, or whatever, right? Well, every single one of them is the same. And if you all look the same, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to have this big stack of business cards, and I'm just going to pull one from a hat and be like, you're my pool guy, because there's no one that's different, right? So you got the business because you were lucky, not because you were better than anyone else. I don't like my chances being lucky. I'd rather show up, and deliver like a big pool scraper at your door, and be like, welcome to the neighborhood. If you ever need any help using this thing, let us know, But what can you do to stand apart so that people tell your story, so that people remember you? People remember stories. They don't remember the fact that you had a 10% off coupon for moving into the neighborhood. They remember that, hey, my name's Joe, and I live in the neighborhood too, and I service 15 other pools in the neighborhood, and, my wife loves to go sunbathing in the summer, and, she can't be having algae, ridden pools, so that's when I learned how to clean pools, to keep my wife happy. And if you want to keep your wife happy, you should probably hire me, because your wife probably doesn't want. But you remember that story. You don't remember the 10% off coupon, right? So that stands apart from the things that you're doing. So those are the 2 I'll talk about.
Yeah,
today,
I actually think those 2 are the most important ones for people to appreciate right now in as they behave, as they either they're entrepreneurs or they want to advance more, their careers. I think those 2 are critical right now, because I think we are, like I said, we're in this paradigm shift where you can't just do things the old way. First of all, the don't rely on one was the one that struck me the most, because I tell the team, I tell people that go through Exosphere all the time, I say, you can't, no one can be a bottleneck for you. No one can be indispensable. You always have to have, no one can be that important in your strategy, because then you're basically, you're like you said, you're putting your chances on luck or not bad things happening to that person or that
Right.
person.
Well,
not,
like a freelancer, right? Like a freelancer, let's say a copywriter, right? And they got 90% of their work coming from one client, and that
exactly.
one client is either done with you, fires you, goes in another direction. You just
Right.
lost 90% of your income, right?
Right,
So
right.
same
Which
same
is
kind of
why,
situation.
very one of the things that Nassim Taleb talks about in his book Anti-Fragile is this idea that a taxi driver is more anti-fragile, resists the changes more than someone that someone that has a traditional 9 to 5 job. Because a
Right.
taxi driver, he may not get some customers one day, but he'll get others another day. It's very diversified. Well, if you get fired from your job, you're out and you have nothing,
Yeah.
right? So the idea of not relying on one thing, either for customers, for team members, a lot of the things I get a lot. I don't know if this happens to you, but I get a lot of emails from especially with the young crowd. Hey, I would like to work with what you guys are doing. Let me help, whatever. And what it's how to put it. You don't want to have anything that's really important on the plate of someone that's not fully yet aligned, whatever. So the really important things, it always has to be on you. You can't depend on somebody else to do it for you. The other thing that I think you said that is really important is this idea that you have to be different, out hustle, because I think that's the other part that's missing a lot. I think is the part
Yeah.
that people are sort of expecting the system of the more traditional lifestyle to kind of just take care of everything. That you can sort of that you can put yourself on some a path where you'll just be taken to the next step by the system, and you won't have to do anything. You just have you go to class, you go to college, you just get a degree, then you just get send the resume, then you get a job, then you climb whatever, and that's so dead, that's so gone, and you will have to be creative on how you find things, and you have to put. I think it's important for people because when you're running a business like you said, you kind of go proactively towards trying new things, right? You're proactively
Yeah.
towards experimenting with your business. I think the point is that we all need to do that today with our careers and our businesses. Is we all need to be kept proactive on like what else can I be doing? What else can I try that would make me different? And this is drives me to this idea that I believe there's a difference between work ethic and discipline, because work ethic is I tell you, when you're told what to do, you work hard. There's a lot of
Yeah.
that, and it's valuable. But what the difference is that discipline means I know I could stop here, but I need to do something more so I can keep increasing my chances of succeeding. And no one's
Yeah.
going to tell me to do it, so I have to do it for me. And I think this is what you're talking about, right? It's like how you advance your business, how you advance your career, how you stand out. Well, have to have the discipline to be, keep out hustling everybody else.
Yeah, so discipline's hard, right?
Yes.
Like don't get me wrong, like like it's not easy, and this is not any type of excuses, but right, but so I'm running 2 companies right now, traveling a lot. I have an 18-month-old and another one on the way in
Oh,
3
wow.
months. So hey, 2 kids in the last time we've talked. So but so trust me when I say that the last thing that I want to do at 11 o'clock at night is be writing thank you cards or sending emails out or preparing for an interview or making sure that my flight, like that's the last thing that I want to do. But if I want to keep my wife staying at home, if I want to keep feeding my kids, if I want to have them to have a great life, I want to keep doing the ththings that I want to do because I'm an ambitious guy. Like I never want to stay at one place. I always want to keep leapfrogging, and that's what guys like Andy that you've talked to. I know like June. I know Cody's been over there hanging out with you a little bit. Like we don't see the world as like just our little bubble. We see the world as so much bigger, and like I'm not even scratching the surface. We did an event at High Point University. This is a university I really recommend you check out. Everyone checks out. It's in High Point, North Carolina. It's run by a guy named Nito Cobain. And he was actually a speaker on like the success tours. If you've ever heard of in the States, there was those big arena-sized tours that like Zig Ziglar was on and Brian Tracy's and Nito was on those tours. And he decided that he didn't want to just be a speaker. Right, because a lot of guys who are speaking, I just go get paid they make good money, right? $10,000 for a keynote, $20,000 for that's good money. Don't get me, there's nothing wrong with that. But it's dependent on me showing up to the venue, making sure I'm on time, having my speech prepared, being on. And he was like, man, I don't know if I want to do this for the rest of my life. I don't know if I want to be 70 years old speaking on stage. So he started investing in businesses, and he started, buying minority shares in businesses. Now he owns Great Harvest Bread Company, some 300 and something stores in the U.S. He owns Dots, the female clothing store chain that's in all the malls. He's on the board of BB&T Bank. He's on the board of Lazy Boy Furniture. And then he was asked to become the president of High Point University, his alma mater. It was a small school, only about 800 or so students when he got there. Now they're up to over 2,500 students. He's got $800 million in funding over the last 8 years. $800 million in funding. I was just talking to him. We were part of his mastermind coaching group, so we get to spend a lot of time with him. And he's just like, when's the last time you just went to your friend and you're just like, hey, Carlos, can you write me a check for $10 million? I'm going to give you nothing in return except for your name on a building.
Right.
And
not often.
Yeah, and without hesitation, you just say, sure, right? Like, that is power. That is something on a whole nother level. I'm not doing the school justice, but it's the Disney World of universities, and we took a tour there, and it's incredible. I mean, they have a 5-star steakhouse that all the students get to eat at for free once a week. I mean, they have like the most technological stuff. I mean, it's awesome. But the whole game is like, so I think I'm doing well. We got 2,200 clients, 33 different countries around the world, and then I go here and this guy's like, yeah, while you guys were having lunch, I just closed a $30 million deal to build a building over here, and I'm like, shit. Like, we didn't do anything today. Like, it just makes you realize that the world is such a bigger place and that you got to think differently in order to get out of your bubble. The world is bigger than, your job, your position, the things that you do on a daily basis. And if, and there are people that can go on their life and do it, right? Like my dad, he's an electrician. He he doesn't love it. He doesn't hate it, but he's going to be an electrician until the day he retires. He works for the school board. He's going to get his pension and all that stuff. Cool. So the way that I'm thinking
our generation cannot hope for the same.
No, we can't, and we also can't think that we're going to work for the same company for 40 years. I mean, in the time that you've known me, I've had like 14 different companies, right? This is like the one I'm in now is like my longest standing one because we change directions, but just because we're trying to impact more people, we're trying to affect more people. We see an opportunity, and we're not just like, Carlos asked if I could be interviewed for his Exosphere thing. I'm just like, shoot, yeah, let's do it, man. I don't know what that could lead to. That might be something cool. Let's, and we need to catch up. A year down the road, you might invite me over there. I might invite you over here to do something. I have no idea, but we run to opportunities. We open ourselves to relationships. We've never met.
Yeah, we let more. We don't try to control everything. We understand that things are hard to control, and we actually seek that out. We seek some more random, some new ideas, some new things all the time because we don't know where things are headed, right? We don't know.
Right.
And when we look back, I'm sure this happens to you. When you look back, it's like, wow, the whole way here was so crazy. I would have never predicted that would lead me. I mean, no way. I'm sure no way when you did the new music economy product, no way that you knew you were going to end up doing celebrity expert like radio, what you're doing now, or TV. Like that was all sort of things not
even.
Right?
Yeah, like the 10-year ago me, it was just a little rapper in a rock band,
Right.
Now, and 3 weeks ago, I was in Times Square in New York City, hosting a TV show called Times Square Today on the balcony of the Hard Rock Live, overlooking. Nice. I mean, the pictures I'm just like, what the hell am I doing here? They're filming good. Yeah, they're filming Good Morning America behind me, and I got makeup on, and I'm in my suit, and and I'm just like thinking, I couldn't even get 10 people to come to a bar to watch us play music, 10 years ago, and now, but it's just it's exponential steps. It's not gradual steps. It's not, I have this entry level job, and then I take the next job, and then I take the next job. It's no, you go from 0 to 100, and then you go from 100 to 1,000. You go from 1,000 to 1,000,000. Like it's exponential growth. It's not linear.
Yeah, Reid Hoffman and Ben Casnocha, on their book called The Startup of You, they call that breakthrough opportunities, which is great careers are not steady growth; they're marked by breakthrough opportunities. So if you look at George Clooney's career, he's not he didn't take this movie by movie. You can kind of say, oh well, this ER was great for George Clooney, and then this movie whatever. I don't know a lot about George Clooney's movie career, but the point is that it's not every movie is not the same. The same for you, every company, every person you've met is not the same. So you have to do a lot so you can find and do the ones that do a lot that do a lot for your career. And sort of like because I have a hunch, but I want to see if it's sort of accurate. And maybe sort of a wrapping up question. I think it's good
Sure.
for people that are watching is, you mentioned names like, Steve Forbes, Dan Kennedy, Brian Tracy. These are pretty, big names in the marketing / business world that you're in. It's a world that,
Yeah.
you're an expert in that world as well. What is it that, but at the same time, they're the older people, they've been doing this for a lot more years. Why do you think, I guess the question has two parts. One is, how does help working with them help you take those leaps? Because I do believe that nowadays a lot of young people spend too much time only with young people, and
Hmm.
I have one of my business partners, one of my co-founders is 50. Antonio is
Yeah.
from Italy, and I can't tell you how much I've learned from working with him. But for some reason he chooses to work with me as well. So the point is, right? So I know it's helped me, but so what have you learned from that? And the other thing is, why do you think they also choose to work with you? Where's that exchange of value? Because I think we all need more gray hair in our lives, from in terms of
Yeah.
advice.
I completely agree. So, the names that you rattle off that I've been able to work with, I mean, hanging out with Brian Tracy, the guy's the smartest guy. He's like a walking encyclopedia. And like one lunch with him is like, earth shattering. And one of my business partners, Nick, is my age. He's got 2-3 years on me, and our other business partner, Jack, he's got some years on us, kind of like your relationship. And he's an incredible entrepreneur. He's sold over $1 billion worth of products and services. He's done infomercials. He's done roadshows. He's done in office stuff. He's done everything. He's had 24/7 syndicated radio across the country. I mean, so me being able to tap into his experience shortcuts learning curves. It doesn't mean that he has all the answers, but it means that he has precautions. He has, things to look out for, things that I might not even be thinking about. Because again, you and I'm going 100 miles an hour, right? I'm going to get off this call, I'm going to jump on the next call, and I'm going to be on to the next thing. And I'm moving 100 miles an hour. So he's the one that's able to say, hey, let's stop, let's look at this. You might want to test this versus this, or you're not thinking about this part, or if you do this, you're going to alienate this part of the market. And having that experience is something that is just so important. You're right that I think that most young people, we hang around young people. So when I first got started, a great little, I guess I'll make it a great story, whether it is one or not. So I used to speak a lot locally, and it was a lot of like marketing style groups. There was like Blog Orlando, and there was like the bar camp scene, if you're familiar with any of those types of things. And it would be marketers, young marketers talking to other young marketers, young tech guys talking to other young tech guys. There was no adult figure, mentor figure, and so I'd be telling you stuff to another guy who I didn't really have a proven business at the time. He didn't have a proven business, and we're both talking about how to build a proven business. It just didn't match. There's a quote, and I don't remember who said it. It was either like Jim Rohn or Zig Ziglar, but one of those guys that that you become the sum of the 5 people that you hang around the most. I think it's Jim Rohn, but I don't exactly remember. But the principle is true. As soon as I stopped hanging around the people who went to the bar at 5 o'clock on Friday to complain about their lives, and started hanging around with people who were trying to 10x their lives, with people who were already, had 7-figure businesses, 8-figure businesses, 9-figure businesses, your mind starts to thinking like theirs. It's not an overnight thing, and it doesn't mean that you're going to become those people, but it does mean that your thinking starts to change. I don't wait for Friday at 5 o'clock to be like, hey, Carlos, you want to go to the bar? Let's get a drink and talk crap about our coworkers and our boss. Like, I'm just at Friday at 5 o'clock, if I'm at the bar, I'm like drawing out diagrams and, like, let's do this funnel and let's try this thing. And, what if we did this? I mean, you don't stop. And it's a product of your environment, the people that you hang around, which I think is really key.
I agree. It's the environment. I recently wrote this article about how people can get locked in certain dogmas of how they advance their careers. The traditional ones. I need to. If I'm going to do any work, I need a paycheck. That to me is an outdated dogma, because some of the best work I did started for free. And then it became incredible experiences and incredible valuable positions. So I think but the point is that the way we break out of those dogmas is by changing our environments and changing the people that we surround ourselves with. And I think you're touching on what I believe is the most important and most effective way to change our lives is you go and who's doing what you want to be doing, who lives life the way you think you're allowed to live it, and go and spend time with them. So I think it's great, and to wrap it up, I think it's important to, when for the older crowd, it is important to spend time with the young crowd, because of time, energy, whatever it is, it's normal that they're more up to speed to many things. They have a lot, there's a lot of assets, of course, that come with youth, but at the same time, I think the youth, I have learned patience from Antonio. I can't say I learned, this little marketing hack. No, I didn't learn that. But I did learn how to be patient, know when to shut up, things like that are things that are really important, and you need someone with experience for those sort of things. Greg, I think this, you clearly have, it's incredible to see how far you've gone the last few years. Is unbelievable, and I really want to thank you for doing this with for us on Exosphere, and I hope we can do it again sometime soon.
Anytime, man. Thanks for having me, and looking forward to seeing you guys grow that thing. It's been incredible what you guys have done as well.
Thanks a lot, man.